The letters P, Q, and R are entered into a 20 by 20 table according to the pattern shown below. How many P's, Q's, and R's will appear in the completed table? If we start with P, looking at that, I want to look column by column. So in the first column, P shows up in, I'll refer to its position as position 1. It shows up in position 2, 3, 4, and it skips every 3. So it'll show up all the way to position 19. And the number of positions here are 7. So in this first column, P shows up 7 times. We can do the same thing with the second column. P is in position 3, and it shows up every 3, all the way to position 18. We can do the same for the third column. It's going to go every 2, position 5, all the way to 20. And then it repeats in the fourth column. We see in the fourth column is the same as the first, where it's in position 1, position 4, and so forth. The number of P's here is going to be 6, and the number here is 7. And so the pattern is, as you go column by column, P shows up 7 times in the first column, 6 times in the second column, 7 times in the third column, and this pattern repeats. So 7, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7, all the way until you reach the 20th column. So we can find the total number of times P shows up in the table by thinking that, let's just calculate how many times 6 shows up. So 6 shows up every second column, fifth column, and it's every third from there, all the way to 20. So 6 shows up 7 times. So therefore, there are 7 columns where P shows up 6 times. And then just the remaining columns, so there are 13 columns where P shows up 7 times. And so to find out the total number of P's in the table, it's going to be 7 times 6 plus 13 times 7, which is 133. And so that narrows our answer choices down to B and C. So we just need to do the same process for Q. So for Q, we can move a little faster now that we get the idea. So for Q, when Q shows up in the second position, we know that there are going to be 7 of them. When Q shows up in the first position, we know there are going to be 7 of them. When Q shows up in the third position, we know there are going to be 6 of them. So following that pattern, it has to be such that there are 7 Q's in the first column, 7 in the second column, and 6 in the third column. And the pattern will repeat like this till we get to that 20th column. So doing the same thing, a 6 shows up every third column, 6th column, all the way to 18th column. So 6 shows up in these columns. Therefore, there are 6 columns where Q shows up 6 times, because there are 6 here. And then therefore there are 7 columns where, or not 7, there are then 14, because we need to add to 20 the number of columns where Q shows up 7 times. And so the number of Q's in the table is just going to be 6 times 6 plus 14 times 7, which is going to be 134. So there are 134 Qs in the table. And that narrows down our answer choices. We had already figured out that these are false because P is not, P is 133. And then we found that Q has to be 134. So we've narrowed down our answer choice. It has to be choice C. And you can do this same process for R, and you'll find that doing this same process, we do get 133 Rs. So answer is choice C.